Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, Danda Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Voice clear on the Mataji, Prabhuji? Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Clear, okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining. So let us read from Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, review we will do, Mataji, because once we get the PDFs, the 7th chapter we have to do. 8th, now let us continue for reading. We will have dedicated some review, previous classes, previous chapters. Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter and Bhagavatam, first canto 7th chapter and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 7th chapter. We will do complete dedicated week. We'll try to do complete. Okay, all those previous readings. Okay, let us do Bhagavatam today. First canto 8th chapter. So let me share 1 second. Yeah, before beginning, let us do Mangalasharana prayers. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. First canto's title is Creation. So we will read from 8th chapter. Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved. Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved. Okay. Let us start. You are able to see my screen, right? Clear. Yeah. Start Jane, yeah. Deepa Mata.
Hare Krishna Ji, Dandavata Pranam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Dr. Goswami said, thereafter the Pandavas, desiring to deliver water to the dead relatives who had desired it, went to the Ganges with Draupadi. The ladies walked in front. Purport. To date, it is the custom in Hindu society to go to the Ganges or any other sacred river to take bath when death occurs in the family. Each of the family members pours out a pot full of the Ganges water for the departed soul and walks in a procession with the ladies in the front. The Pandavas also followed the rules more than 5,000 years ago. Lord Krishna, being a cousin of the Pandavas, was also amongst the family members. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sandhya Mata, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Having lamented over them and sufficiently offered Ganga's water, they bathed in the Gangas, whose water is sanctified due to being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord.
Read this also.
Thank you, Prabhuji. There sat the king of the Kurus, Maharaja Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers and Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, Kunti, and Draupadi, all overwhelmed with grief. Lord Krishna was also there. Purport. The battle of Kurukshetra was fought between family members, and thus all affected persons were also family members like Maharaja Yudhishthira and brothers Kunti, Draupadi, Subhadra, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and her daughters-in-law, etc. All the principal dead bodies were prey or other related with each other, and therefore the family grief was combined. Lord Krishna was also one of them as a cousin of the Pandavas, and nephew of Kunti, as well as brother of Subhadra, etc. The Lord, therefore, was equally sympathetic toward all of them, and therefore he began to pacify them befittingly.
Okay, thank you. Akinjan, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Citing the stringent laws of Almighty and their reactions upon living beings, Lord Sri Krishna and the bullies began to pacify those who are shocked and affected. Purport. The stringent laws of nature under the stringent laws of nature under the order of supreme personality of Godhead cannot be altered by any living entity. The living entities are eternal under the subjugation of the Almighty Lord. The Lord makes all the laws and the orders, and these laws and orders are generally called dharma or religion. No one can create any religious formula. Bona fide religion is to abide by the orders of the Lord. The Lord's orders are clearly declared in the Bhagavad Gita. Everyone should follow him only are his orders, and that will make all happy, both materially and spiritually. As long as we are in material world, our duty is to follow the orders of the Lord. And if by the grace of the Lord we are liberated from the clutches of the material world, then in our liberated stage also we can render transcendental loving service unto the Lord. In our material stage, we can see neither ourselves nor the Lord for want of spiritual vision. But when we are liberated from the material affection and are situated in original spiritual form, we can see both ourselves and the Lord face to face. Bhakti means to be reinstated in one's original spiritual status after giving up the material conception of life. Therefore, human life is specifically built for qualifying ourselves for the spiritual liberty. Unfortunately, under the influence of illusory material energy, we accept this spot life of only a few years as our permanent existence and thus become illusioned by possessing so-called country, home, land, children, wife, community, wealth, etc., which are false representation created by the Maya illusion. And under the dictation of Maya, we fight with one another to protect these false possessions. By cultivating spiritual knowledge, we can realize that we have nothing to do with all this material paraphernalia. Then at once we become free from the material attachment. This clearance of misgivings of material existence at once takes place by the association of Lord's devotees, who are able to inject transcendental sound into the depth of the bewildered heart, and thus make one practically liberated from the lamentation and illusion. That is the summary of pacifying measures for those affected by the reactions of stringent material laws, exhibited in the form of birth, death, old age, and disease, which are insoluble factors of the material existence. The victims of the war, namely the family members of the Kurus, were lamenting the problems of death, and the Lord pacified them on the basis of the knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Just want to say one statement here. So yeah, illusion. Thus, it'll become illusion by possessing so-called country, home, land, children, wife, community, etc., which are false representations created by Maya illusion. And under the dictation of Maya, we fight with one another to protect these false positions. Yeah. Yeah, fighting over this. Yeah. Aryan Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. The clever Duryodhana and his party cunningly usurped the kingdom of Yudhishthira, who had no enemy. By the grace of the Lord, the recovery was executed, and the unscrupulous king who joined with Duryodhana were killed by him. Others also died, their duration of life having decreased for their rough handling of the hair of Queen Draupadi. Purport. In the glorious days, or before the advent of the age of Kali, the Brahmanas, the cows, the women, the children, and the old men were properly given protection. 1. The protection of the Brahmanas maintains the institution of Varna and Ashrama, the most scientific culture for attainment of spiritual life. Second, the protection of cows maintains the most miraculous form of food, that is milk, of maintaining the finer tissues of the brain for understanding higher aims of life. Third, the protection of women maintains the chastity of society, by which we can get a good generation for peace, tranquility, and progress of life. Fourth, the protection of children gives the human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. Such protection of children begins from the very day of begetting a child by the purificatory process of Garbhadhan Samskara, the beginning of pure life. Fifth, the protection of the old men gives them a chance to prepare themselves for better life after death. This complete outlook is based on factors leading to successful humanity as against the civilization of policed cats and dogs. The killing of the above mentioned innocent creature is totally forbidden, because even by insulting them, one loses one's duration of life. In the age of Kali, they are not properly protected, and therefore the duration of life of the present generation has shortened considerably. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that when the women become unchaste for want of proper protection, there are unwanted children called Varnasankra. To insult a chaste woman means to bring about disaster in the duration of life. Dusasana, a brother of Duryodhana, insulted Draupadi, an ideal chaste lady, and therefore the miscreants died untimely. These are some of the stringent laws of the Lord mentioned above. Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
So nicely quoted, actually. Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. Yeah. So nice. 5 points. So this is proper way established dharma, dharmic way. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Chandramaya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Aryan Prabhu. Yeah. And Aryan Prabhu.
Translation. Lord Sri Krishna caused 3 well-performed Ashwamedha Yagyas, horse sacrifices, to be conducted by Maharaja Yudhishthira, and thus caused his virtuous fame to be glorified in all directions, like that of Indra, who had performed 100 such sacrifices. Purport. This is something like the preface to the performances of Ashwamedha Yagya by Maharaj Yudhishthira. The comparison of Maharaja Yudhishthira to the King of Heaven is significant. The King of Heaven is thousands and thousands of times greater than Maharaja Yudhishthira in opulence, yet the fame of Maharaja Yudhishthira was not less. The reason is that Maharaja Yudhishthira was a pure devotee of the Lord, and by his grace only was King Yudhishthira on the level of the King of Heaven. Even though he performed only 3 yagyas, whereas the King of Heaven performed hundreds, that is a prerogative of the devotee of the Lord. The Lord is equal to everyone, but a devotee of the Lord is more glorified because he is always in touch with the All Great. The sun rays are equally distributed, but still there are some places which are always dark. This is not due to the sun, but to the receptive power. Similarly, those who are 100% devotees of the Lord get the full-fledged mercy of the Lord, which is always equally distributed everywhere. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, read Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Lord Sri Krishna then prepared for his departure. He invited the sons of Pandu after having been worshipped by the Brahmanas headed by Sri Vyasudeva. The Lord also reciprocated greetings. Purport. Apparently, Lord Sri Krishna was a Kshatriya and was not worshipable by the Brahmanas. But the Brahmanas present there, handed by Sri Vyasudeva, all knew him to the personality of Godhead, and therefore they worshipped him. The Lord reciprocated the greetings just to honor the social order that Kshatriya is obedient to the orders of Brahmanas. Although Lord Sri Krishna was always offered the respects due to the Supreme Lord from all responsible quarters, the Lord never deviated from the customary usages between the four orders of society. The Lord purposely observed all the social customs so that others would follow him in the future. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, here, can you please go back? Here in the first line, they are saying, but the Brahmanas present there, headed by Srila Vyasudeva, all knew him to the personality of Godhead, and therefore they worshipped him. Here I did not understand, Prabhuji. Vyasudeva is also the incarnation of Krishna, right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
And how come Krishna and Vyasudeva and both are in the same time?
Why can't he can be multiple times at the same time, Prabhu? This is, of course, Vyasudeva personality is a literary incarnation of Krishna. And that's why it's called Krishna Dvaipayana. He can be expanded into multiple forms. He can present there
at the same time also.
Yeah, that's his potency, na, Prabhu.
Yeah, correct.
He can be there anytime. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
No, there is no question to his potencies and energies. Yes.
If Prabhupada writes, then there will be no questions at all.
He can expand it into multiple forms and can stay there. He cannot be stay there. His own, everything. He's playing with his energies and all the energies and the different expansions, and these are all leelas. These are all expansions, means he wanted to enjoy from different energies, expansions, right? Everything. See, if everything comes from him, means all of his energies, all of his these various living entities, expansions, the source is Govinda Adipurusham. So that Adipurusham only, for that the first person, everything comes from him. So he can be there at any point of time. He can be there simultaneously. He cannot be there simultaneously. His own will. There, he can be there. Yeah. Let me read. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. As soon as he seated himself on the chariot to start for Dwaraka, he saw Uttara hurrying toward him in fear. Purport. All the family members of the family of the Pandavas were completely dependent on the protection of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord protected all of them in all circumstances. The Lord protects everyone, but one who depends completely upon him is especially looked after by the Lord. The father is more attentive to the little son who is exclusively dependent on the father. Example, you see. Very nice. So we need to develop complete dependence on the Lord. The problem is we are acting independently. That's a problem. That's where we are in Maya, in his illusory energy. So Bhakti Yoga trains us to depend on Lord. One who depends completely upon him Krishna is special favor to the devotee. We need to develop that complete dependence on the Lord. Yes. Mother, please go ahead. Second term.
Yes, Raj. From Uttara said.
Yeah.
One second. Uttara said, O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality. Purport. This material world is the world of duality in contrast with the oneness of the absolute realm. The world of duality is composed of matter and spirit, whereas the absolute world is complete spirit without any tinge of the material qualities. In the dual world, everyone is falsely trying to become the master of the world, whereas in the absolute world, the Lord is the absolute Lord, and all others are his absolute servitors. In the world of duality, everyone is envious of all others, and death is inevitable due to the dual existence of matter and spirit. The Lord is the only shelter of fearlessness for the surrendered soul. One cannot save himself from the cruel hands of death in the material world without having surrendered himself at the lotus feet of the Lord.
Thanks, Mother. So very nice. Thank you, Mother. In dual world, that is the thing. That is the problem. Death takes place means we are in the matter and spirit. We are in the dual existence. Everything is in the dual world. Everyone is falsely trying to become master of the world, whereas in the absolute world, the Lord is absolute Lord, and all others are his absolute servitors. Only Srila Prabhupada can write. You know how beautifully he is writing. In the world of duality, everyone is envious of all others, and death is inevitable due to dual existence of matter and spirit. So when we assume when you possess spiritual body means there is no question of death. So when we have material body means there is a death inevitable. Yeah, nice point. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Sandhya Mata, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O my Lord, you are all powerful. If fiery iron.
Voice chinna vastundhi.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is it okay now?
Yeah, now clear, yes.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire, but please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. Purport. This incident took place after the death of Abhimanyu, the husband of Uttara. Abhimanyu's widow, Uttara, should have followed the path of her husband, but because she was pregnant and Maharaja Parikshit, a great devotee of Lord, was lying in embryo, she was responsible for his protection. The mother of a child has a great responsibility in giving all protection to the child, and therefore Uttara was not ashamed to express this frankly before Lord Krishna. Uttara was the daughter of a great king, the wife of a great hero, and student of a great devotee. And later she was the mother of a good king also. She was fortunate in every respect.
Yeah. Anybody knows daughter of a great king? Uttara's father. Who is Uttara's father?
Vivalyu.
Uttara's father.
Abhimanyu is husband.
One is
Husband. Uttara's
husband.
father.
Virat Raj.
Oh, Virat. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Read Prabhu. Akijan Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Sutta Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Sri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Ashwatthama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life of the Pandavas family. The Lord is impartial in every respect, but still he is inclined towards his devotees, because there is a great necessity of this for everyone's well-being. The Pandavas family was the family of devotees, and therefore the Lord wanted them to rule the world. That was the reason he vanquished the rule of the company of Duryodhana and established the rule of Maharaja Yudhishthira. Therefore, he also wanted to protect Maharaj Parikshit, who was lying in embryo. He did not like the idea that the world should be without the Pandavas, the ideal family of devotees.
Yeah. Aryan Prabhu. Praveen Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes. Reading.
Prabhuji. O foremost among the great thinkers, Munis, Sankas, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons. Purport. The Brahmastra are finer than the nuclear weapons. Ashwathama discharged the Brahmastra simply to kill the Pandavas, namely the 5 brothers headed by Maharaja Yudhishthira and their only grandsons, who was lying within the womb of Uttara. Therefore, the Brahmastra, more effective and finer than the atomic weapons, was not as blind as the atomic bomb. When the atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate between the target and others. Mainly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there is no control. The Brahmastra is not like that. It makes out the target and proceeds accordingly without harming the innocents. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Aryan Prabhu, want to read?
Yes, Ruji. Translation. The Almighty Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them. Purport. The Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Ashwathama, was something similar to the nuclear weapon but with more radiation and heat. This Brahmastra is a product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it is not blind like the nuclear weapon, because it can be directed only to the target and nothing else. Ashwatthama released the weapon just to finish all the male members of Pandu's family. Therefore, in one sense, it was more dangerous than the atomic bombs because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. Knowing all this, Lord Sri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotees, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished, and he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotees. Here the word Ananya Vishyatamanam is significant.
Vishayatmanam. Ananya
Vishyatmanam.
Vishayatmanam.
Vishyatmanam is significant. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglects even the greatest warriors and also vanquishes them in no time. When the Lord saw that there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, he took up his weapon even at the risk of breaking his own vow. Although the battle of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon, but the emergency was more important than the war. He is better known as the Bhakta Vatsala, or the lover of his devotees, and thus he preferred to continue as Bhakta Vatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes. Yeah, Bhakta Vatsala. Achyuta Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord of Supreme mysticism, Sri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as the Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of the Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy, purport. The Lord of Supreme Mysticism can simultaneously reside within everyone's heart or even with the atoms by his Paramatma feature, his plenary portion. Therefore, from within the body of Uttara, he covered the embryo to save the Maharaja Parishad and protect the progeny of Maharaja Kuru, of whom King Pandu was also a descendant. Both the sons of Dhritarashtra and those of Pandu belong to the same dynasty of Maharaja Kuru. Therefore, both of them were generally known as Kurus. But when there were differences between the two families, the sons of Dhritarashtra were known as Kurus, whereas the sons of Pandu were known as Pandavas. Since the sons and grandsons of Dhritarashtra were also were all killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, the last son of the dynasty is designated as the son of the Kurus. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Progeny, it's a progeny. Progeny means the family, the complete family, the community, progeny of Maharaj Kuru. Let me read and we'll wrap up this with this verse. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Shaunaka, glory of Bhrugu's family, although the supreme Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama was irresistible and without check or counteraction, it was neutralized and foiled when confronted by the strength of Vishnu, Lord Krishna. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Brahmajyoti, or the glowing transcendental effulgence, is resting on Lord Sri Krishna. In other words, the glowing effulgence known as Brahma Tejas is nothing but the rays of the Lord. Just as the sun rays are rays of the sun disk, so this Brahma weapon also, although materially irresistible, could not surpass the supreme strength of the Lord. The weapon called Brahmastra, released by Ashwatthama, was neutralized and foiled by Lord Sri Krishna by his own energy. That is to say, he did not wait for any other's help because he is absolute. Jai. Hare Krishna. Yeah, we'll stop here. Thank you very much for reading. So now let us go to for practice, sloka practice. Yeah, let me share. Thank you for reading. Yeah, Mother, you want to do or it's up to you, Mother? Yeah.
Nobody is doing, I can do Prabhuji.
Akinchan Prabhu, you want to do? We'll follow you.
No, Prabhuji, I have to go out actually. Tomorrow.
Okay, sure. Mother, మీరు ఏం లేటర్ నేను చేస్తాను, మీ ఇష్టం చేస్తారా? Let us do.
Yes. 13.22 Purusha Prakristho hi
Purusha Prakristho hi
Bhunte Jan Gunan Karanam Guna Sangosya Asadyoni Janmasu Purusha Prakristho hi He Prakriti Jan Gunan
Purusha Prakristho hi Jan Gunan
Karanam Guna Sangosya Sad Asadyoni Janmasu Purusha Prakristho hi Bhunte Prakriti Jan Gunan Karanam Guna Sangosya Sad Asadyoni Janmasu
Purusha Prakristho hi Prakriti Jan Gunan Karanam Guna Sangosya Sad Asadyoni Janmasu.
Translation: The living entity in material nature
The living entity in material nature
thus follows the ways of life,
Thus follows
the ways of life,
enjoying the three modes of nature.
enjoying
three modes of nature.
This is due to his association with that material nature.
This
This
is
is due to his association
association with that
that
material
material.
nature.
that material.
Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species.
Thus,
Thus,
he
he
meets
meets
with
with
good
good
and
and
evil
evil
among various
among
species.
various species. Yeah.
13.23 Updrishtanumanta cha
Updrashtanumanta cha
Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara
Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara
Paramatmeti Chapyukto
Paramatmeti Chapyukto
Yehesmin Purusha Para
Dehasmin
Purushara
Purushapara
Upadrashtanumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara
Updrashtanumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara
Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Para
Paramatmeti Chapyukto Asmin Purushara.
Translation, sorry. Upadrashtanumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Para
Upadrashtanumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmeti Chapyukto Asmin Purushara.
Yet in this body there is another,
Yet in this body there is
another,
a transcendental enjoyer
a transcendental enjoyer
who is the Lord,
Who is the
who is the
Lord?
Lord,
the Supreme Proprietor,
the Supreme Proprietor,
who exists as the overseer and permitter,
who exists as the overseer and permitter,
and who is known as the Super Soul.
and who is known as the Super Soul.
14.26 Mam chayo vyabhicharena
Mam chayo
Vyabhicharena
bhakti yogena sevate
Bhakti
yogena sevate
sagunan samatityetan
sagunan samtitetan
brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
brahma
Brahma
kalpate.
Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate
Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate
sagunan samatityetan kalpate.
sagunan samtitetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate.
Translation. One who engages in full devotional service,
One who engages in full devotional service,
unfailing in all circumstances,
Unfailing in all
in all
circumstances,
circumstances,
at once transcends the modes of material nature
at once
it one
transcends the modes
transcends
of
the
material
modes
nature,
of,
and thus comes to the level of Brahman.
and
and
thus
thus comes to the level of Brahman.
Brahman.
15.7 Mamaivamsho jivaloke
Mamevamso
Jivaloke
jivabhuta sanatana
Jiva
Jivabhuta
Bhutta
Sanatana
Sanatana
manasasthani indriyani
Manasasthani Indriyani
prakritisthani karshati.
Prakritisthani
Prakritisthani
Karshati.
Karshati.
Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana
Mamaivamsho
Mamevamso
Jivaloke
Jivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatana
Sanatana
manasasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati.
Manasasthani Indriyani
Prakritisthani
Prakritisthani
Karshati.
Karshati.
Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manasasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati.
ममैवांशो
जीवलोके
जीवलोके जीवभूता सनातना मनसष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
Translation. The living entities in this conditioned world
The living entities in this conditional world
are my eternal fragmental parts
are my eternal fragmental part.
due to conditioned life.
Due to conditioned life,
They are struggling very hard with the six senses,
they are struggling very hard with the six senses,
which include the mind.
which include the mind.
15.15 Sarvasya chaham dhriti sannivishto
Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto
matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha
Matta
smritirjnanam apohanam cha
vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo
Vedaischa sarvairahmeva vedyo
vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham.
Vedavid eva cha.
Vedavid eva chaham.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha.
Sarvasya chaham sannivishto matta smritirjnanam
apohanam cha.
Vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham.
Vedaischa
sarvairaham vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha. Vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham.
Sarvasya chaham
hridhi sannivishto
matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha. Vedaischa sarvairaham vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham.
Translation. I am seated in everyone's heart,
I am seated in everyone's
in
heart,
everyone's heart,
and from me come remembrance,
and from me
come
come
remembrance,
remembrance,
knowledge, and forgetfulness.
knowledge, and forgetfulness.
By all the Vedas, I am to be known.
By all the Vedas, I am to be known.
Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta,
Indeed, I am the compiler
of Vedanta,
and I am the knower of the Vedas.
and I am the knower of the
Vedas.
Vedas.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for reciting. I will do all the slokas, and Praveen Bro, you do once, okay? Then we will wrap up, okay?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, let me do 13.22. Purusha prakrutisto hi bhumte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sad asad yoni janmasu. Translation. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. 13.23 Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwarah paramatmeti cha yukto dehesmin purusha para. Translation. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. 14.26 Mam chiyo avicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Translation. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, yet once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. 15.7 Mam Shayo Vicharena సారీ
No.
మమైవాంశో జీవలోకే కళ్ళు మూసుకొని చెప్తున్నా ఇక్కడ 15.7 మమైవాంశో జీవలోకే జీవభూత సనాతన మనఃశస్త్రానింద్రియాణి ప్రకృతిస్థాని కర్షతి. Translation: the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. 15.15 Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto matta smritirjnanamohanam cha vedaisya sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta kritveda vid eva chaham. Translation: I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Jai. Yeah. Do it, Praveen.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Bhagavad Gita 13.22. Pursha prakriti stho hi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. Translation: the living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. 30.23 Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti chapi yukto deyasmin purusha paraha. Translation: yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the supersoul. 14.26 Mam chayo avyavicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samtaitan brahma bhuvaya kalpate. Translation: one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, and once transcends the mode of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. 15.7 Mamevamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manan sasthani indriyani prakriti sthani karsati. Translation: the living entities in this conditional world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditional life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind. 15.15 Sarvasya chaham hirdi sanivisto mata smritirjnanam aponam cha vedesi cha sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta kridveda vid eva chaham. Translation: I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedantas, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Jai. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji, Prabhuji. So let us conclude here. We'll see you tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Nitai Gaura Hari Premanande.
Hare Hari Hari Bo.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.